Hi, good day. So today we are going to be dealing with the basic sketch block. I am hoping that you guys have like the basic tools that you need to join the class. Before I get started, I think this is the best way for you guys to see this. So I hope this is clear enough for you guys to see. Sorry, let me just do this. Yes, this might help a little bit. Yes. So here we have making the basic sketch block. Now the basic sketch block is the foundation on which every other sketch design that we will be creating for either a model or for production. This is where it all starts from. Basically, we take the basic measurements from a model or from a client, and we use it to draft the sketch patterns. So I did this little bit for us so we can get to see the things that we need. You can take a screenshot or you can pause the video so you can write out these measurements in your own booklet, basically. So the measurements needed here, we have the waist measurement, we have the hip measurement, we have the length, the M allowance. Now we have here I have the style line seam allowance, and we have the side seam allowance. Basically, there's also the dart size, which is also known as the dart allowance. Then we also have the measurement for our hip line, which is basically the figure or the dimensions from our waist to our hip. That's how long it is, the vertical measurement, basically. And then we have these as well. So the tools that you will be needing to join the class are basically you need the flat surface, you need the pattern paper, you need the pencil, you need the ruler, tape measure, eraser, and most importantly, you need your measurements. Now these I am using a size 10 of Ellen Joseph Armstrong size chart, basically. So you can go ahead and put in your measurements under this part that says full. So when you put in your own measurements, if you have a size chart, but I would advise that you follow my measurements for now, because then you have every input right now. You have everything here, so you can just do this verbatim, and the next pattern that you'll be doing, I would advise you to use your own measurements. So basically, I hope you guys have seen this, and you can take the video back or pause it so you can write this out. Now this is what I expect this is what we'll be creating. This is what our pattern will be looking like after we are done with the class. I hope you guys can see them clearly, see what I have written clearly. Here we have the center front line. If you do not understand what you're looking at right now, it is not a problem. I will totally take the class I'll make the class as explanatory as possible. So here we have, it says here the front sketch pattern. This also says the back sketch pattern. So what you have right now on our pattern is half of our body, basically. So half of our body is what we have here. So we have quarter of our body in front, and we have quarter of our body at the back. Now, not to confuse you, what I am trying to let you understand is that what we have on our front sketch pattern will be cut on fold, so that when we cut it on fold and we open it up, you have the full front of our pattern, which is from one side to the other side. And same thing goes for the back, but because the back would be having a seam, which is where our zip will be going into, we'll be having two pieces of it. This is just me giving you an overview of what to expect, but I will still take the pattern classes from the beginning, and when it's time to cut, I will go through it with you fully. So you can also take a screenshot of this before we get started. So let's get started. Now to get started, I always tell my students to draw a borderline around their paper before they get started, so as to make sure that they have clean lines and straight lines at the edges of their paper. Sometimes the papers that we buy tend not to have straight lines, but because on straight lines that we cannot see them with the naked eye, so it is just best to be on the safe side. So all you just need to do is just take your ruler and make sure that you have straight lines around your paper. Now to start the class, after drawing your borderline on the top of your paper and at the side of the paper closest to you, there is no preference to which side you need to draw the top borderline. You can also draw a borderline at the bottom here, but you do not necessarily need a borderline at the bottom of your paper, given the fact that you might not be using the entire length of the paper. So now, the first measurement, in no particular order, I would advise that you follow every single step I do, one after the other. Just you can pause the video, take it back, or slow down the speed of the video to make sure that you are following me. Now the first thing, in no particular order, we need to measure the length of our skirt. Now in the live session videos, I'll be explaining the intricacies of having to calculate the length of the skirt in relation to the type of skirt that you'll be making. For now, you will just be drafting a bandless basic skirt block, and we'll figure the rest out. So now, in no particular order again, the first thing I need you to do is measure the length of your skirt. Now, like I said, you should be using my measurement right now, so we will not have any disparity in measurements. So first thing we'll be using is the length of the skirt, which is 23 inches. 23 inches is what we are measuring. So the top of our pattern, we'll call this place the waistline. Now we'll be measuring the length of our skirt, which I say is 23 inches, from our waistline down. So you get your ruler, and from the waistline measure 23 inches. Make sure that your ruler aligns with the top with your waistline. Mark just a short line there, then come forward a little bit. Align your ruler with the top line or with the waistline, and mark another spot here. So now sometimes you might be tempted to mark another spot in the middle. It's not necessary. Just having these two lines will make your lines cleaner. Just connect both of them, making sure that your pencil, a smooth straight line would work very well. Now this is where I would be using my marker so you guys can see the lines very well. I hope this is doing the trick for you. And I hope I have not confused you guys at any point today. So, pardon me, this is me just using the markers so that you guys can see my lines clearly. Now the next thing I will be doing is marking half of our hip measurement. When I showed you the finished pattern that we'll be having when we are done with the class, I indicated that what we had on the pattern was half of our body, which is the same thing that is here. Now we will be marking the hip measurement because the hip is the fullest part of the body, which also means that it is the biggest part of the body that we should be taking into consideration, given the fact that we can take out every other measurement from the hip measurement. So we'll be using half of our hip since we are constructing just half of our body on the pattern. So half of our hip measurement, which is what I have here, which should be what you have as well, should be 18.5. Now we'll be marking 18.5 from this line here. Now this line here, which is the line closest to you on your table, is called your center front line. Now, just like the name states, center of the front, so it is the middle of the front of your body. So that is where we'll be measuring what we have, which is 18.5. Now, in no particular order, you can start from the top or you can start from the bottom. But like I said, you are measuring from the center front line to the other side, away from you on your table. So make sure you align your rulers to your center front line, 18.5, just 1 point there. then come to the top line and mark 18.5 again. Now the reason why we do this is so that we make sure that we are having a straight line. At no point in time should we compromise having a straight line on our pattern. Now the line that we just drew now is going to be called the center back line. Like I expressed for the center front line, it is also the center back line, the line in the center of the back. So if you have gotten to this point without any confusion, what it means that what the next step for us to do is to demarcate this rectangle that we have here, so we can have our front section and we can have the back section. Now if we measured 18.5 to get our center back line, it means that for us to divide these two pieces into equal sections, we would be using the quarter measurement, which is 9.25. Now for those of us who might be confused about what measurement 9.25 is, you know, when you have 9, then you have half and you have quarter. 9.25 is the same as 9 and quarter, if that is confusing for you. So 9.25 is 9 and quarter. So starting from the center front line or from the center back line, whichever one suits you, mark 9 and quarter or 9.25. Do the same thing for the top as well. Then draw a line connecting both of them. I will do this using my marker so you guys can see clearly. I sincerely hope that you guys are following me up to this point, and I will just use this to just explain briefly from the top again. We started out by drawing our border lines around our pattern paper. Our border lines gave us our waistline, which is also known as the top line. It also gave the line closest to us. I established it as the center front line. Next step was to measure the length of the skirt, which is this part here, which the edge of the skirt would be called the M. So this is the M of our skirt after measuring the length of the skirt, which is 23 inches. Then next I measured 18.5, which is half of our hip measurement, to establish the entire pattern block that we'll be having on our pattern paper. So marking the points both at the bottom here and at the top to give us straight lines. Then I also divided that block with half of the measurement, which is 9.25, to give us our front section and the back section. Now at the hem of the skirt, we have what is called the hem allowance. Now the hem allowance is the amount of fabric that is needed to fold and neatly finish the edge of the skirt. Now standard measurement for this, standard but it is not always the same, because each fabric has its own style of hemming. But for now, let us deal with the standard, which is 2 inches. Mark 2 inches from the hem of your skirt downwards. Do the same thing at the other edge so you can have a straight line. Then draw a line connecting them. I will do this with my marker as well. Again, there is no strict rule to any of these things. I need to take this line to the bottom here. Now I can as well as just draw the line, but I do not trust you guys to have straight lines. Sorry, I have trust issues with my students. So please kindly measure 18.5 again. Then connect it with your ruler. Yes, that would work for everybody. Yes, please. Now we will be calling this line, we would call this new line M allowance. this is me putting the amount of inches we added for our M allowance. You can do the same so you can know what you also used as well. And I hope you guys are still following me up to this point. Do not get bored with the class. We are almost at the end of the class. Now, on our center back line, one of the major differences between the front pattern of our skirt and the back pattern of our skirt is that we have a zip on one part. For now, for this class, the zip is usually at the back, so we will be adding our zip allowance at the center back line. So from the center back line away from you, mark 1 inch, come to the bottom as well and mark another 1 inch away. Make sure your ruler aligns with your line, and just take it one. I will do that with my marker as well, just to give you guys a very good view of the lines. Yes, that is it. So here we'll be adding our 1 inch zip. Now so far, now this line here that demarcates the back section and the front section, it happens to be the side. This is the side of our body. So this part will be labeled the side seam. Like I said, you guys can label yours as well, but if you feel you have a very good grasp of what it is that we are doing, you can leave the labeling out of it and refer to mine. So now the next thing that we'll be doing on our pattern paper is marking the hip line, which is the measurement of the waist to hip. If you have written this down, or if you have a screenshot, refer to it, you would see that we have the measurement as 8.25. As earlier stated, 8.25 is the same as 8.25, which we will be measuring from our waistline, which is the top. You can see here it says waist to hip, so it means that we will be measuring it from our waistline downwards. Measurement varies depending on the body measurements, so we do that in other classes. Now the next thing that we need to do, we seem to just have like a very rectangular shape here. Now it is time for us to mark out our waistline so we can give our patterns shape. Now what we'll be referring to our waist measurement for that. Now since I'll take you back to where I mentioned that on our pattern we are having half of our body, but in front, our front section gives us quarter of our body and our back section gives us quarter of our body. So now if we were to mark our waistline in the front section, which is quarter of our body, it means that we will be using quarter of the waist measurement to give the front section the shape that it needs, ideally. So now 6.75, just like I was explaining earlier, that 9.25 is 9 1/4, 6.75 is 6 3/4, that is 6 3/4. That is what 6.75 is. So I will be marking. Now when you are marking your waistline, either from on the front section or at the back section, I would strongly advise you, don't do it the other way. Strongly advise you that you need to measure from the center front line or without a dart, I would be marking the same thing starting from the center back line. But there is a twist to it, just for the purpose of letting you guys know how to include a dart in your pattern. I'll be adding a dart to the back pattern. So the size of my dart says 1 inch, and my waist measurement says 6.75. 6.75 plus 1 inch would give me 7.75. Now 7.75 again is the same as 7 3/4, 7 3/4. Starting from my center back line, not my zip allowance. Center back line, the zip allowance is an extra allowance, not the same as your body's. So you need to take note of that. So 7 3/4 is the measurement. Just a single stroke here would be fine. I would mark this out with my marker again so you guys can see it clearly. Now the next thing for us to do is to connect our waistline to our hip line. I mentioned earlier that the hip curve, which is this, or this part of this form, can be used as a hip curve. So I'll be using this to connect my waistline to my hip line. This is the reason why this pattern sort of works out very well. You know that all you just need to do is connect this point to this point. Now just watch the way I place my form. The idea is to make sure that you are having a smooth curve. Even if you do not have a smooth curve, I will be going through a technique called blending. In pattern drafting, there is a way to eliminate sharp points, which we really do not need on the human body or when we are sewing. Same thing goes for the back as well. All you just need to do is just make sure that you are aware and you have made sure that you are connected and tried your best to link your waist and your hip line smoothly. I will be using my markers to show you that is that, and for these as well. I really hope you guys are enjoying the class and you are not bored out of your mind. So I will be labeling the pieces for you. Now right here in front of me, the pattern that has the center front line, I'll be labeling it the front skirt pattern. Then I will label the back as you figured. Back skirt pattern. Now we are almost at the end. Now you need to have a seam allowance on the top of the skirt. So if we are having a facing or we are having the lining, we would have the allowance to join it. So that's the seam allowance. The style line allowance is 0.5, which is half an inch. All we just need to do is instead of adding the allowance towards the bottom of the skirt, this time we'll be adding it to the top of the skirt because it is an extra allowance. So we just mark half an inch from our waistline upwards. Now to finish off the back pattern, I would need to establish my darts. The dart legs which we added the 1 inch for needs to be established and drawn out. Now to divide 7 3/4, if you are good with your ruler, that should be 3.5 and 1 2 3. Yes, I got that right. Then place your ruler this way. Now some of you might be afraid of drawing longer lines than you need. That is not a problem because you can always erase them when you're done establishing what you need to. Now our dart size says 1 inch. We would need to mark half of the dart size on both sides of the leg of our dart leg. This is our dart. So we have half an inch to the left, to the right, and another half an inch this way. Then we could now the length of the dart from the waistline to this point is 4 inches. Let me do this for you. 4 inches. Then you connect the dart legs. This way. I will do that again with my come to our waist here and just draw a straight line connecting the pattern to the seam allowance on top of it. So again, I will do this with my marker so you guys can see it. So this signifies the end of the basic skirt block. I hope at every point you guys have been able to follow the class and you guys have been able to achieve the same pattern as this. Or this. This is the same as what I have here, and this is me just striking out this part that would not be needed, just so you guys can identify with it. In following classes or in the live classes, I would be explaining how to cut out our basic patterns. Thank you for joining today's class, and see you in the next class, which would be the straight pencil skirt class and other designs.